Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. And earlier today, Reggae Boyz head coach Jaime Hall-Grimson announced a 32-man squad for a 2-day training camp at the UWI JFF Captain Horace Burrell Centre of Excellence starting today. Let's take a look at the list. George, you'll help me if I butcher any of the names. All right. Kimara Foster, Ramon Howell, Ricardo Thomas, Peter McGregor, Trevante Stewart, Kimani Campbell, Demario Phillips, Devontae Campbell, Jamoy Topi, Tafari Chambers.
Yep, and then we go to Shaquille Dyer, Sule McCullough, Alwyn Harvey, O'Dane Murray, Eric Edwards, Kimani Arboin, Earl Simpson, Najuma Johnson, Richard King, Dwayne Atkinson, Dejuan Richards, Jason Wright.
Yeah, Colin Anderson, Kyle Ming, Jadine White, Gawain Austin, O'Shane Staple, Colorado Murray, Jashawn Anglin, Nicholas Hamilton, Okeemo Jones, and
Malachi Douglas.
Malachi name gives me a run for my money.
We just said it.
All right. The camp will allow Hall-Grimson to run the rule over local-based players as he prepares the Reggae Boyz for action in the CONCACAF Nations League in March. So, George, we saw the list, 32-man list. What's the impression?
So here's the thing. I look at the list. There's not a single player on that list that I would not have invited, but there are a couple I would have. So that means that the 32 wouldn't compute. Yeah. So I really applaud the JFF for doing this. We've had coaches in recent times who admittedly were in the heat of World Cup qualification who couldn't call up players to look at them that we wanted them to look at. But you look at the list, and I'm looking at McGregor from Peter McGregor from Dunbeholden, Trevante Stewart, and Kimani Campbell,
Dejuan
Phillips. Richards is, of course, the standout schoolboy, along with Douglas. The three schoolboys in the squad deserve their call-up. I would have called Marlon Martin from Arnett Gardens. He would have to be in my team. And I would have called, there's a young centre-half from Waterhouse. His name is Blake. And I saw him in Romain Blake. He played in that 4-0 win against Harbourview, the youngster, still a schoolboy. I would have called him as well. But then again, I say that if you're going to have a 32-man squad and I wouldn't leave out any of these players, then I couldn't put in those who I felt deserve a look in as well. What I'll say is that the timing of this squad and the timing of now, inconvenient for some of the Reggae Boyz, because last year, when Nicoy Christian from Dunbeholden was the hottest midfielder in the league, assists aplenty, and he was running the show. He was a spectator's delight. You paid your money to go to Sabina Park and watch him play, you were guaranteed your money's worth from him alone. His form has ebbed away because Dunbeholden haven't started the scene too hotly. So his form has ebbed away, and now that a coach is here, giving local players a concerted look and giving them the opportunity to impress him directly, he isn't in the kind of form that would warrant an invitation to the squad at this time. So it is unfortunate for a player like him that no has come now, and that no wasn't last season at this time. Yeah,
you say unfortunate, but there are so many positives for the rest of the players that are in the 32-man squad, because we had a discussion right here on the SportsMax Zone. I believe you were off for that. We had the CEO of Yardie Sports, and we had Chris Taylor. Chris was saying that, you know, he didn't really think that the players should have gotten called up, the youngsters like Dejuan. We were discussing, the topic was, should Dejuan Whisper get a call up to the national setup and whatnot? And, you know, some of the points that were highlighted in that was that there are stages, right? And then the opposite point was that, no, but why not include these talents into the setup? Because you want the players to get a feel like what it is to play that level of football. So where do you stand? And of course,
well, I have never in my life seen or read of a world-beating talent not make it because he was invited to the national setup too early.
It can only be good, right?
So that's a slam dunk answer to that question. Yeah.
But they spoke about pressure, George, mental and physical pressure.
Yeah, but I'm saying if a player doesn't have the support around him, and the support doesn't have to be structured, there just has to be support. You don't have to have an army of people supporting you. It just needs to be one person who you will listen to, support, saying the right things, and you'll follow that one person telling you the right thing. I mean, look, players come and go. Players are produced all around the world. It's a factory, the production of footballing talent. There is no best way to guarantee that this talent will graduate and will train on, as we say in
But you
horse
can
racing.
try.
Of course you can try, but people who criticize make it look like, oh, if you do that, then that player will not mature. Rubbish. I'm saying that there has never been in the history of football someone who would have made it, but they didn't make it because they were called to a national setup too early.
Yeah, and the importance, George, of these youngsters getting this opportunity, because as you said, many of them wouldn't have gotten this previously. So let's talk a bit about, how this can help them develop their football, and what does this mean for Jamaica football in the future?
Well, what this should be a part of the blueprint, and I find it's funny I say that, because you would have thought that a country appoints a coach from outside the country. One of the first things would be that that coach would be in the stands at various games watching the players, and the local players would get a fair crack. People have always been upset with Jamaica because they didn't feel that local players were getting a fair crack, because they didn't see coaches looking at them to say, well, I looked at the players myself. I didn't get any report from so-and-so and so-and-so who may be biased against certain clubs. But I saw the players myself, and I didn't pick any because I didn't find any good enough. People will abide by that. But they haven't seen these coaches in the stands watching the players. So they say, well, how can you then ignore local players when you haven't seen them to gauge their level? Hal Grimson now has a chance to say, well, people, I called 32 of the very best. I had a look over 2 days, albeit over 2 days, not a lot of time, but I did look, and I will work with this 5 going forward, or this 3. Or maybe none of them at this time catches my eye, and he moves on and brings in those players who are based overseas. So it's good, whichever way, and it ensures the head coach against a certain kind of criticism that he isn't giving players who ply their trade locally a fair crack at playing for a national team.
And it also motivates the ones called up, because they know what they're capable of, and of course they can work on their game to get better. Let's take a quick break and come back. We have some cricket to talk. Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.